Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Together We Grow podcast. My name is Paul Main.
And I am Tamar.
And this is our very, very first episode. Now, over the past 6 years, myself and Tamar, husband and wife, we have been building a successful business in the home fragrance industry, and we recently sold it. So this podcast is all about our story on how we work together and how we grow a business together, how we live together and manage to cope with all of that kind of stuff.
Without killing each other, I must add.
Absolutely, yeah. But also we're going to throw in lots of business advice, tips, marketing, productivity, all of that good stuff. This is all of our experience of living and working together over the past 6 years. Since we sold our business in May 2024, we have again decided that we're going to start another business together because we're a great team. And this time it's a marketing company and we're helping other home fragrance businesses to start and grow their business. But also we're focusing on working with other businesses who simply do not have time for social media. And we create their content for them. We post it for them. It's all engaging. It's everything that we have learned in the 6 years that we have built an audience of over 100,000 people, an engaged audience, generated 300,000 plus orders, all of that kind of stuff. And we are basically now taking all of that experience and creating content for our clients. Isn't that right?
That is right. And we're taking all of the stress away from them if they're not sure what to do, how to do it, how to use the platforms, anything like that. So we're just taking all of that worry away for them.
Exactly. So we're going to dive into this very first episode. Let's get going. So this first episode is basically going to be our story. This is how we started, why we started, and where we're at now, all the way through everything that we did that we can remember in this short podcast episode.
That's true. So you get to know a bit about us and get to sort of just know who we are, really.
Exactly, yeah, to see if this is something that you will want to continue to listen to. And on that point, whatever platform you're listening to us on right now, make sure to subscribe.
I think you should. It's a good idea.
Because we want to do this on a regular basis. And we're only going to do that if people want to listen to it. Isn't that right?
That is true. We don't want to be sitting here spending hours of our time if no one's going to listen.
Exactly. So where do we start then? Basically, this episode is our story. So where shall we start? Tamar, over to you.
Oof, where should we start? Well, I think essentially it's your fault, to be honest. It is your fault that we started a candle and wax melt business.
Yeah, probably.
Definitely.
Most things are my fault, though. That's the thing. In this relationship, in business, everything is my fault.
Well, we've got to have somebody that's in charge. Well, obviously you used to work in marketing before, didn't you? You've got 20 plus years worth of experience in marketing. So when you used to go off on meetings and things all the way across Suffolk and everything, you always used to bring me home presents, and quite often there was lots of candles involved. And the last time you came back with a candle, it was terrible.
And it wasn't a cheap candle as well. I saw this in the shop and I thought, you know what, she's going to love that.
It was a cocktail one, wasn't it?
It was a cocktail one. She loves cocktails, she loves candles, all of this kind of stuff. And it wasn't cheap. I thought, yeah, that's a lovely gift. I can't remember. I used to travel around all of east of England, down to London, all that. I can't remember where I was. But I pulled over somewhere, saw this candle, bought it for you.
Yeah. And I was quite excited about it because it smelled incredible in the container. And I thought, oh, lovely, this is going to be nice. Lit it after dinner. I thought, where's the smell then? It doesn't smell of anything. And you had to get right on top of it for it to smell of anything. So we thought, can't be that hard to make a candle. Tell you what, it is actually quite difficult.
That's exactly what we thought. We're like, it's wax, fragrance, and a wick. I mean, how hard can it be? You know, and how can they charge that amount of money for something that doesn't smell? Obviously, we didn't know anything about candle making at the time.
And soon learned it's not as easy as we thought it was, standing in the middle of the living room.
Yeah, but at the time you were working in a school, weren't you? And there was school politics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, everything had turned very political and it wasn't the right place for me to be anymore. I wasn't enjoying it. So after almost 12 years, I thought, now's the time to have a change, which was in itself very scary because I never ever thought I'd do anything other than working in education. So
yeah, and you'd never In fact, you categorically told me that you did not want to start your own business.
Yep,
Because I'm very,
multiple times.
yeah, I'm quite entrepreneurial. I'm quite ambitious. I always come up with ideas, and if something happens, I'm like, oh, what can I do to turn that into? I'm always doing this to a point
Yep.
where it frustrates Tamar, I imagine. But
Sometimes it does because you think of something or you see something, and then I wake up in the morning and you've pretty much written a business plan for this thing.
yeah, that's just how I am, really. But at this point, you weren't happy on your role, and then we'd sung this candle, which was rubbish, and we started to research how to make them. And you were actually thinking, actually, it's not a bad idea. I could work from home, make a few candles.
Yeah.
It's going to be easy. And me, with my marketing knowledge and experience, I could quite easily flog them for you.
Exactly. We thought we could make a good team, to be honest, and we never expected that it would grow like it did, to be honest. I always thought that it would be just me in the kitchen at home and you running the marketing, but I thought it would just be steady. I only expected it to replace my income so that we could be comfortable and pay our mortgage.
And to be honest, after the first few months, I think we all thought the same, because
Yeah.
our initial plan was to launch as just a subscription box.
Yeah.
And it was six wax mounts.
So it doesn't know what we're selling.
6 wax mounts every month. The subscriber would receive as a surprise through the post. And that was it, really, wasn't it? We wanted a subscription box because
recurring revenue is the holy grail in business.
Absolutely, yeah. If at the start of every single month, if you know that straight away you've got X amount of pounds coming in, it makes it so much easier. You don't have to start every month on zero. So that was the original plan.
Yep.
And I have quite a lot of experience in building audiences, marketing, driving traffic to websites, and all that kind of stuff, really. So we did a big pre-launch.
Yep.
We generated a few thousand people. 2,000 people were interested. But this was at the point where subscription boxes were relatively new.
Yeah, they fairly were in the UK.
And weren't really a thing. Not really, were they?
No.
There were a number of them, but bear in mind our target audience were of the older generation. And so when we did launch, we had 2 or 3 sign up.
Yep.
But then that was it. And it was...
I remember we were stuck on free for a while and we were like banging our head against the wall thinking, oh my God, have we done the right thing?
Yeah, I know. And it was like that. And then we would sort of run different offers, like you get your first box for £1 or something like that, just to try and get numbers in. And sure enough, you get your numbers in. And but when you do a heavy deal like that,
you don't get a very engaged audience. You don't get the right sort of people.
The churn rate goes through the roof because they're not buying into you as a company and your brand. They're buying into the fact that it's a very cheap deal.
Yeah, they're not genuine customers.
That's right. And it was after, I don't know, a couple of months or something, one of our 3 customers said, I'd really like to buy these on their own. Can I buy them from you? And we were like, well, no, it's a subscription box.
And then we thought about it, and we did actually decide in the end to add the retail arm to it so that they could top up on their favourite products, because at that point we kind of hit the bit where we weren't sort of getting anybody else in, and it seemed like the logical thing to do. And if that was a sticking point for some people, then maybe they're not going to be coming to subscribe because they couldn't get their favourites again.
Exactly, and that's why we launched an online shop. So basically then what happened was, when the 6 fragrances that we launched every single month, once the customer had received those and enjoyed them, we then released them for general sale through our shop. And that's when things started to build up.
Sort of snowball a bit, didn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And then what we did was we introduced what we call a no-brainer offer, which is something that, I learned from many years of doing this kind of thing for other people. And that is, you run adverts to a cold audience on Facebook, and the offer that you are targeting them with is a no-brainer.
So it's something you don't have to think about. It's such a great deal, getting a product that you're already interested in at an incredible price.
Exactly. And the idea here is to get people to try your products. We knew that you're not going to make any money on that first deal because you've got your advertising cost plus the discount cost and all this kind of stuff. But that's okay, because we knew that we would be able to retain these customers because we had so much wonderful feedback from our customers that we knew that they were good products, didn't we?
We did, yeah. And we also did a lot of work ourselves on retention, didn't we? We really nurtured our audience and spent a lot of time talking to them one-on-one as well, didn't we?
Yeah, one-on-one through our Facebook group that we started up the same time we started our business, all that kind of stuff. And basically what ended up happening was, instead of people joining the subscription and then buying the products, they would buy the products, enjoy them, and then join the subscription afterwards.
Yep, the complete opposite way to what we started.
That's right. So we had this no-brainer offer, which was a pack of 10 little heart-shaped wax melts, wasn't it? No,
Yeah.
was it 10? 16.
10.
10 little heart-shaped wax melts. And we did a buy one, get one free on that.
Yeah.
It was priced, so you still made money on that, which was
Yeah.
good. But of course, then you had the advertising costs. So it worked out that we would just break even on that. And
Which isn't bad at all.
no, and we weren't afraid to reinvest all profits and all money and everything back into advertising, because we knew that's the key to growing.
Yeah.
And because there wasn't many wax melt companies back then, certainly not sort of advertising aggressively, we actually found it very easy to build up that audience and to build up that customer base.
We did, and we used Facebook a lot, didn't we? And the Facebook advertising back then was a lot easier as well.
And of course, as the years roll by, it makes it it's much harder because there's a lot more competition. So we have to learn and adapt and change different things.
But that's the same in all types of business, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we were rocking at this point. This was towards the end of 2018. You were working absolutely flat out at home. I still had my full-time job.
Yeah, completely flat out. I actually ended up a little bit ill, didn't I? Because I was doing too much.
You did, yeah. We made everything in our kitchen, and we had a little storage unit, didn't we? A safe
Literally 5 minutes around the corner.
storage unit, which is where we stored everything, made up the actual boxes, and packaged all orders.
Yeah, we had deliveries come there, and Royal Mail came and collected. And I remember right at the beginning, we paid for the collections, didn't we, to start with? And Royal Mail would come in, and sometimes for a whole week there'd be nothing for them to collect.
Yeah, but they still have to come in because that's what they do. So that's a bit of advice for you, actually. If you are working from home in your kitchen and you are as fed up of products, supplies, everything littered about the place, just like we were, then try and find yourself a local storage unit.
It's really handy because they've got staff on hand, especially Safe Store did, and they take the deliveries in for you. They'll actually put them in your unit for you and lock it back up as well.
Yeah, and it was a couple £100 a month, something like that.
Yeah, it was only about £200 a month then.
Yeah, but when you're first starting in business, that's obviously quite a significant cost, but it actually helps to break up that work-life balance as well, which we found very important. But yeah,
and also, especially if you're working from home, it means you see other people.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But yeah, then obviously the months rocked on. At this point, we were building customers, getting more subscribers, generating a few thousand a month. I think by that October, November time, bear in mind we started in March.
We launched in March. I left my job in the May.
Yeah, and then October, November time, I think that was when you actually managed to start taking some money out of this.
Yes. And our first Black Friday was absolutely amazing, wasn't it?
That was our very first £1,000 day.
Yeah.
We could not believe it.
We were literally jumping up and down with excitement. And I remember I took photos of, as I do with everything, don't I? I took photos of the trolley in Safe Store. It was the first time I'd ever filled a trolley full of orders. And it felt absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And Christmas came and went. And then, I don't know what happened, but as soon as we hit 2019, things just went through the roof. I was still in my full-time job. You were still working from home, going to Safe Store. But we were hitting £1,000 days pretty much every day. Every day. And I think it was the January of 2019 where we hit £30,000 that month.
Yep. And it was also the same month where you left your full-time job and joined me full-time, and we signed the lease for our first proper unit as well.
I mean, talk about taking risks. You know, when you look back on it, you think, oh my God, obviously it was the best decision we've made, but you think, oh wow, you know, I think it was a Friday.
It was a Friday.
I went into work on that Friday, not intending to leave, but by lunchtime, I'd walked out the door, I'd left. And funny enough, it was that afternoon that we did have an appointment anyway to look at this building.
Yeah.
And we actually signed the lease, and they gave us the keys there and then paid a deposit. So literally within 12 hours of waking up on a Friday, we had
completely changed everything.
No guaranteed income, and we'd had keys to our first ever unit. And oh wow.
And I cried like a baby when you told me you'd left.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was so scared.
Yeah, so that was one of and it wasn't entirely my decision. The guy that owned the company at the time, I was the managing director of it. It was a marketing company. The guy that owned the company could see that my mind was elsewhere with regards to this business, because I was doing a lot of marketing on that as well. And we just had a discussion about it. And he sort of wanted me to stay a bit longer. I was kind of quite keen to to get going. So we came to an agreement whereby I would leave there and then, but I would still be on hand to help out for a bit. And that worked quite well. I mean, it was ideal for us. At the time, we were like I said, it
was scary.
It was so scary, but it was the best thing ever, really, wasn't it?
It was, but it's one of those things. If you don't take the risks, you could be sitting there in 50, 60 years' time thinking, "Oh, what if only I did that?"
Exactly. You have to take risks, but they have to be calculated as well. We could see the growth, and it was significant growth.
And it wasn't just 1 or 2 months; it had been continuously growth.
And you might be sort of listening to this thinking, yeah, but how did you get to 30,000? How did you get to 1,000 a day? And that was simply by reinvesting profits after Tamar had managed to take some money out of it back into advertising. Bear in mind, this was easier back then, so tactics do change.
Yeah. But it's still very much doable.
It's absolutely doable. We've done it all the time. We do it now for our business at the moment, and it does work. But it was having a no-brainer offer, and you would make so many of these, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these boxes.
Yeah.
Keep updating your ads. Always add new creative to them. Don't just let them go stale and stagnate, because that won't work. Let your ads run for a minimum of 7 days. You want them to get out of the learning phase, and they do that once they've completed 50 actions. And if you're in e-commerce, that would typically be 50 purchases. But it has to do that within 7 days. Once it's done that, then the advert is completely optimized, and Facebook will really understand the audience, and that's when you'll start to see the performance of it improve and do really well. So that's the key. You want to get your adverts out of the learning phase. If you could do that, then that typically will be a very well performing ad. And that's what we did. Just keep doing that. Not only were we getting first time customers, but we had a retention strategy in place where we would encourage those customers to join our Facebook group. Once they're in the Facebook group, they get to know me and Tamar personally, one-to-one, and we nurture them, we chat to them, we make friends, they make friends with other people. And we also had email campaigns, automatic email flows going out to nurture these people, not just by keep sending them
buy this.
Yeah, but talking about how to use our products, introducing us as people with photo, all of that kind of stuff. We knew right from the very beginning that we wanted to build a community-based brand. And to do that, you can't be a faceless company. You have to show your face. You have to do videos. We did a lot of those.
We did. And I absolutely petrified to start with, didn't I? Do you remember that very first video in the kitchen? Yeah. You shut the door and you said, right, I'm just going to record you. I need you to say this. And it was a mess, wasn't it? It was terrible. I stuttered over it. But we put it up, and it's still up there now as well. Yeah,
but you have to do these things. You have to go through those pain barriers and just overcome certain fears and just get them done. Ultimately, if you want to grow your business, you have to do things differently to what your competitors are doing.
Yep. And there wasn't a lot of that happening at the time, was there?
And there's still not.
No.
Because people are afraid to do it, or they don't see the value in it. So even now, if you did a weekly video diary, a vlog like we did, put it on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, you'll start to build an engaged audience.
And that really did help us.
Absolutely. It really did. It really did, because people, they start to know the people behind the brand. They start to like them.
They start to trust them.
And therefore they want to support them. They can see what happens behind the scenes, and they want to support them. Obviously, you have to have good products as well.
Of course. That goes without saying.
Yeah. But that's what we did. Running adverts, getting first-time customers with a silly good offer, nurturing them in our Facebook group and via email, and then encouraging them to come back to the website to place second and third orders. Once they've done that, once a customer has placed 3 orders with you, within a couple of months, they can be seen as a fan. They like your products enough to do that. Now's the time where you can start to encourage them to join your monthly subscription, because they're much more likely to do so. Once they do that, you've got them. Then you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over. And that's what we did. And once if one day we did £1,500 and let's say 500 of that was pure profit, the next day we'd spend 500 on Facebook adverts. Yep. And that's literally what we did. And that's how we managed to grow it in those early days. And it worked.
It did work. And for all the risks that we did take at the beginning were definitely worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. And as the months rolled on through 2019, we hit our first summer. Yep. Me and you just working together. We'd had a brilliant beginning part of the year. We're paying ourselves. We've got a touring caravan, so we managed to get away in that a few times, and things are going well. And then 2019, we had a loss in our friend group. A very close
We
friend
did.
sadly passed away, which was incredibly sad. But that also happened in the height of summer,
Yeah.
where our first summer properly running this business, we didn't realise just quite what the dip would be like, did we?
No, the seasonal dip was absolutely huge in the summer, and we only created wax melters and candles then, which are products that you have to warm or burn, and they're things that we didn't really account for the summer months being such a dip at all, and we didn't have anything to supplement that, did we?
No, so because we knew that Facebook ads was the answer in the earlier months, I invested more into Facebook ads.
Yeah.
But of course, you can't be pushing hot things like this in the summer too much because not everyone will buy them. So your cost per click, your cost per acquisition, everything went through
Goes
the
up.
roof. And yeah, so we ended up spending more and more on Facebook ads, getting less and less orders, and we were in a very precarious place there, weren't we? We almost signed a deal to get this loan, £25,000 loan, with a ridiculous interest rate.
Ridiculous. We were literally hours away from signing it, weren't we?
We had the we had the pen,
Yeah.
everything, and luckily we didn't, because that would have just been horrible. And we persevered,
Yep.
and
Somehow managed to get through it.
we learnt our lesson. So the following year, we introduced car fresheners,
Yeah.
and then soon after that, we had room sprays, things that people do want in the summer months.
Yeah, we learned from the challenges that we faced, and we diversified our offering.
That's what you have to do. That absolutely. That's one of the key lessons we learned was to diversify. If you've got peaks and troughs, you want to try and even that out so you have more of a flat ground. You want more peaks than you do troughs.
Definitely. Nobody wants a trough.
That's it. So if you are selling wax melts and candles and you notice a considerable dip in the summer, think about introducing something in the summer months that people will want to buy.
And the first thing you should do with that is, if you've already got an audience, ask them what they like. Because if you're able to introduce something that they do like and that they've asked for, they will feel even more like they want to support you and stay with you because they feel listened to. And you also get an idea of what they're actually going to want to buy.
Yeah, exactly that. That's the whole point of building that audience. But we managed to get through that, didn't we?
We did, somehow. There were days where we were like, I don't really know why we've done this, but we managed to get through it. We kept going, and like I said, we learnt from our lessons and our mistakes along the way.
That's it. And then we launched our autumn collection, which was really good, but it was also a disaster at the same time.
Yeah.
It was really good because we got loads and loads of sales because
We'd already built that audience to start with.
we built the audience. Plus, we knew how to do pre-launch campaigns. We did it when we first launched, and I did it for clients in the past. We know how to do pre-launch campaigns, so we did that, and we sent out all the autumn collection, and the autumn collection got rubbish feedback.
It flopped massively.
It flopped, and this was our next lesson, and that lesson was to test everything thoroughly.
It was a huge lesson because when I was doing the research and everything, there wasn't anything to do with having to test stuff. You know, you had to test candles for your wicks and things like that, but there was no information on actually testing wax melts. And that was the biggest mistake that we did, was not testing them right at the very, very early days.
Yeah, we put too much trust into the suppliers, really, and well, I say that, that, but also it's not too much trust in the suppliers, and I don't mean that as in they were untrustworthy. I meant that as in we didn't do our job properly.
Yeah,
It was our fault, of course it was, but
we just assumed that everything would work at our recipe, and then that was it.
yeah,
We assumed because this was a fragrance oil that was used in candles or wax melt making, that anybody can use it and it'd work fine.
yeah, exactly.
Obviously, there are so many different, there's science essentially, there's so many different types of waxes and temperatures and everything that you have to test every single thing, because one oil can't work perfectly as how you expect it to in every single blend of everything.
Yeah, and so that was a huge lesson. And what we did, I mean, we were getting some real negative feedback there. It was the first time we'd ever experienced that. What we did cost us a lot of money, but it repaired pretty much all of those relationships. Not only did it repair the customer relationships, but it actually excelled us even further. And what we did was we repurchased the oils elsewhere for the similar sort of fragrances, tested them thoroughly, remade the collection, and sent it again to everybody who didn't enjoy the previous batch.
it was basically I'm really sorry. We've messed up. We've made a massive mistake. We've reinvested. We've redone it, and here is your version back, but
Yeah.
better.
And they love that. And that went from being one of the worst moments in our young business history to actually become one of the best, because the
That built
retention,
proper trust.
it did. The retention rate, the community engagement, the one-to-one engagement and trust that we had with our customers from then on was just unreal, wasn't it?
It was
That was the best
because
time.
we held our hands up and we said, we're really sorry, we've messed this up, and then we dealt with it in the best way we possibly could, and we sent them the products
Yeah,
at
exactly.
our own cost.
That's right. And then after that, we then had what was it? In October, we launched our advent calendar on pre-order.
That was amazing.
We really wanted a fantastic advent calendar, different to the ones you see elsewhere. So it was a lot of packaging. It was a big box with all sorts of stuff in it. Each wax melt was in an individual box inside this big box, and there was one for every day of the month.
It was huge. So we had each little wax melt was a 1 ounce pot. They all needed a sticker on it. Then the little box needed folding to put the number on the top, to put the CLP on the inside, to put some tissue paper in, the wax melt in, some tissue paper in, sweet in, put that in a giant box, and then fill that with all 24 of those boxes. Had 2 giant chocolate bars and a big wax melt and a paperwork as well.
Yeah.
And wrapped them all in a bow.
And we wrapped them all up in a bow as well, so that was bloody expensive to make.
That was. We had my mum and dad helping every single night, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah. And that was at the point where we hired our first employee, which was Paige. We knew that we needed it. Things were starting to pick back up then. And
she joined us in the end of November, didn't she?
November. So we'd sold these advent calendars, but they weren't being dispatched until the end of November because we needed to make them all up. So one of her first jobs was to help us with all of that.
Yeah.
My sister was on board as well. She helped us make all of those. And yeah, when they went on pre-launch, I think it was a Friday night, I believe, or a Saturday morning.
It was a Saturday morning because we went away for the weekend.
We did. We went away for the weekend. We had our Halloween collection on in the caravan. I remember that.
Yeah.
And pre-launch on the Saturday morning.
And we sat there with the laptops open because we always do that for any launch. We're always there, present, making sure that everybody's okay, that the links all work and all of the technical stuff. And then we had Google Analytics open, didn't we? And we were just watching the numbers of the website visitors going up, and we were like, oh my God, quick, take a screenshot. Oh my God, and another one.
Bear in mind, at this point, it was just Tamar and myself. And there was hundreds of people on the site. And that was our best ever day at that point. It was
£8,500.
£8,500 we did in that one day. And for us too,
it was an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
We couldn't believe it because we didn't know how many that we were going to sell. So we just put an unlimited number available so that when we'd finished and they'd sold, and we sort of closed it off, we could see how much supplies wise we needed to buy. So we didn't have any expectations of how many we were going to sell. We didn't think, we're only going to put 100 on or whatever. We just left it rolling, and it was incredible.
It was. And bear in mind, we only had a small audience then, small customer base. I think we sold about 200. Mm-hmm. We then, during the week, obviously bought all of the supplies for that because we had no idea. We definitely did not expect to sell 200.
No.
And the type of product and how big it was going to take us such a long time to make.
Very long time.
So we did put a pause on it when we got to 200. But when we bought all of our supplies and stuff, we realised we actually had enough to make 250.
Mm-hmm.
So we put another 50 on, and they all sold out super quick as well.
And then one of our very sort of unlucky things that happen to us sometimes, we end up having to make an emergency extra 20 of them, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, because we oversold. Was it oversold?
Yeah, we oversold.
Yeah, that happens often. But yeah, that was just wonderful, wasn't it? Then we had Black Friday, and oh my God, Black Friday was 20-something thousand pounds, and that is at that point now. Bear in mind, we're at late 2019, and it was at this point onwards where things really started to take off. So we got through Black Friday, we got through Christmas. February, was it January or February in 2020? We hired our second team member, which was Sam. And then very soon after that, we hired Rachel,
which was April,
who worked in dispatch. So at that point, there was 5 of us. I was marketing, business admin. I was doing some dispatch, just moving pallets around, all this kind of stuff, basically. Tamar was very much involved in dispatch and production.
Yeah.
We had Sam and Paige, who were both
production. Yeah.
And then we had Rachel, who was in dispatch as well. And that was such a lovely time. 2020, bear in mind, lockdown hit. And I remember sat
We
on the
were
sofa,
petrified, weren't we?
Boris doing his speech saying you all must stay home. And then he said, unless you
Manufacturing.
and you sell online and stuff like that. And we're like, phew, we can
We
carry on.
just relaxed, didn't we, completely? And we implemented things. So we rearranged the warehouse so that we were always a table width apart from each other. We took everybody's temperature when they came in.
Yeah.
We had masks, we had gloves available. So we were as safe as we possibly could be.
Yeah. And 2020 was just continued growth. We had our collections that we launched, our spring, summer, all of those kind of collections. Every month we'd have our subscription box go out. The numbers were going through the roof. It was June that year. Bear in mind, that was 2 years after we started, that we ticked over to 1,000 members.
Yeah.
Subscription
That
box.
was amazing. I remember that.
Yeah, 1,000 subscription box members. And we were charging $17.99 a month. So,
Yeah.
and they all renewed on the first of the month. So you can imagine, and all of the renewals happened automatically in the early hours.
So you wake up and you're not on zero.
So we woke up on the first of the month with just under £18,000 of sales straight away, and that's before anything has happened. I can't stress enough how much of a stress relief that is.
It is when you've got team to pay.
Because there was only 5 team members. There we had our unit, which was small, all that kind of stuff. But the profit from that £18,000 on the first of the month, a few hours after the month had started, there was enough there to cover all bills for the month. That is a wonderful place to be in, and if you could do that, that's that's another key lesson. I mentioned it earlier, is recurring revenue. Try and find a way to get recurring revenue into your business, because it is a stress buster. So make sure you do it, because it's important.
That's what you call it. It's the holy grail of business, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It is for the reason I've just mentioned, basically. So do that as much as you possibly can.
Definitely.
And then 2020 was continued growth.
It was an amazing year, wasn't it, 2020?
Every year was growth on growth. Of course, COVID did help with that, because people were at home. People liked these products at home. They were working from home. A lot of them were furloughed. They had more money because they couldn't spend it anywhere. So, for anyone in e-commerce, and certainly in sort of this type of industry, 2020 was fantastic. But you still have to capitalize on it. You still have to build your business around it. It was slightly lucky, but also you could have got overwhelmed if you didn't know what you were doing. If you didn't structure your business in a way where it could cope with that growth, then it would fail.
Well, if we weren't in the position where we were with having 5 team members, if it was just you and me back then, we would have struggled.
We would have done.
We would have really struggled with that growth.
Yeah, we would have done. And then it was time to move warehouse, because we were in a 1,500 square foot, or less than that, probably about 1,200 square foot place. Every day, to even get the team in,
we had to take at least 5 pallets out of the building.
5 pallets I had to sit outside. I mean, it was becoming unsafe. It just wasn't very nice, basically. So we found a lovely new warehouse, 10,000 square foot.
And it took a very long time to get the paperwork done.
I'm not even going to talk about that.
Solicitors,
solicitors, all that. It was just a nightmare.
But not only did we do that, at exactly the same time, we were actually buying that new house.
Yeah.
So we moved business and house within the space of about 2 months of each other.
Yeah. So don't ever do that. because that's incredibly stressful when you're doing the lease and paperwork, and not only just that, but also the renovation of a very large building, whilst also doing the same thing for your house as well. I don't think I'll ever want to do that again.
No.
But we got there, didn't we? And then
we did.
When we got the keys for our new warehouse, it was 10,000. Well, it was a 5,000 square foot footprint, but it had a full size mezzanine.
Yeah.
So it took it up to 10,000 square feet. We had some wonderful plans for it. We spent 2 months. I hired 2 people to work with me for 2 months, and every single day, and I mean that literally every day, we were there working on it.
And, it was filthy, wasn't it?
It was an old car parts place, so it's greasy, dusty, dark, dingy, cobwebby, everything you can imagine it was. And we wanted to turn it into something bright, airy, something that didn't feel like a warehouse, but felt like a place where our team members wanted to be.
Yeah.
Our team members were incredibly important to us, obviously, and we care deeply about them, and we wanted a place where they would love to work.
Somewhere they'd be more comfortable than sticking them in an old car parts place.
Exactly. And I feel like, we spent a lot of money on that.
A lot of money on that.
We even replaced all the windows and doors, the roller shutter, all of that, painted every square inch of the floor, the walls. We painted the lot, the doors, everything, recarpeted it, all sorts of stuff, and
We built a kitchen.
built a kitchen, built a shop,
Mhm.
built a photography studio, a live shop area, all that kind of stuff. It was great. And we moved in there, and they were some good times, weren't
They
they?
were, yeah.
2021 was we're in that new building. Everyone was happy. We were growing. We were hiring marketing people. We
Mhm.
hired 2 marketing people that year. One was a Facebook ads person,
Yeah.
and one was a social media content creator. We got more people into production. We hired an office manager, Laura, who would look after all of our customers as well. And that's when we hired Nathan, who's our operations manager,
Yeah.
to run everything. So then that freed Tamar and I up to focus on growth. And that is a key lesson as well, is as soon when you're hiring people, you want to hire people into into positions where they can take work off you so you can focus on marketing and growth and sales. That's what you need to do as early as you possibly can. There's nobody better at marketing and selling your business than you.
Mhm.
You might not think it, but it's true, because at the end of the day, it's your livelihood. It's your life.
Nobody's going to care more than you do.
So you are the person to drive that. You can have people help. You can have people help create content, but don't just hand over your entire strategies to other people who are not as invested in the business as you are. That's something which is very, very key. And as soon as when you get to a certain point, if you can hire people to manage the team as well, to do all of the HR, to do all of the the sick days, the holiday, all of that kind of stuff, as well as the production plans, making sure everything is being made on time, making sure deliveries happen, making sure collections and raw mail and all the orders go out, make sure customers are all happy. Get that kind of stuff away from you as best you can. We did that through Nathan, and that completely freed us up to focus on growth. And
It
that's
made
what
a
happened.
huge difference, didn't it? Because think about all of those individual little tasks that he did that we didn't have to think about.
Yeah.
That he'd just report to us once a week on everything, or anything that came up bad during the day or whatever, he'd come to us. But we didn't have to worry about if this person was turning up on time, if this job was being done, if this client was happy, because it was all done and taken care of, so we could focus on the bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we did. And that's exactly what we did. And that worked very well. It freed us up. We continue to grow the business. We continue to market, get more customers. We launched another business, which was Craft HQ,
Mhm.
which was fragrance oils. So not only were we a home fragrance manufacturer, but we were also now a home fragrance supplies business.
Yep. And that was all about diversifying as well, wasn't it?
That's what it is. It's building those multiple revenue streams.
Because we were already in talks with the manufacturers and getting the fragrances in for Cozy Aromas. So then it's like, well, I'm not going to use all of this, but I have to order this size. So, what can I do with it? So it's like, well, hang on. All of these other people that are at home making their products themselves from their kitchens and stuff like that, they've got to buy them from somewhere. So why not buy them from us?
Exactly. And we were working with these manufacturers to create some wonderfully unique fragrances.
There were some incredible ones.
Because all of the online suppliers, they all had your baby powders, your black cherries, all of that kind of stuff that you see everywhere.
We did some of them as well, of
Of course we
course.
did, but there was a real gap in the market for something totally unique. And that's where Craft HQ was born. And yeah, that was I think out of the 3 home fragrance brands we started, Craft HQ was probably my favorite.
It was, wasn't it?
Because it was easy, because you buy in 25 kilo drum, you decant it into smaller bottles,
And you sell it.
and you sell it. It's quite straightforward. So then it's all about B2B, which I like. I like B2B. So you're selling to other business owners, and yeah,
B2B is a
that
whole
grew.
different ballgame, isn't it?
That grew. I mean, our focus, unfortunately, was always on Cozy Aromas, because that was the main name,
Yeah, the main
the
breadwinner
main
of
brand. But I think in hindsight, if I'd have focused more on Craft HQ, a lot more on Craft HQ, that would have
it.
become
Could have
that
skyrocketed.
could really have become a monster and done some really fantastic stuff. So we had that as well. So yeah, and it's all about diversifying your. It's all about introducing as many revenue streams as you can. So by this point, we had our online shop, which was the bulk. We had our monthly subscription, which was where we basically paid for all of the expenses at the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
We were selling wholesale on the
Mhm.
likes of Fair, through our own website, all that kind of stuff. We had a shop at that point as
We
well.
did,
We
yeah.
didn't mention that.
No, we didn't.
We had a little shop. Well, we had 2. We had one in Felixstowe,
Yeah.
which was a wonderful little thing, and we also had our shop at our HQ, our new
Yeah.
building, which didn't do crazy numbers.
But you could see when it came to things like, because we were in an industrial unit, weren't we? So we had loads of car shops and things like that around. And when it came to things like Christmas or Valentine's, loads of the guys would come across to get some emergency presents because they'd
Yeah,
forgot to get their missus a present.
exactly.
And when it got close to those times, and after like postage times for Christmas, we would just had like a revolving door.
Yeah,
They were in
brilliant.
and out, in and out.
Yeah, so we had that shop as well, and then we had Craft HQ, which was online sales as well, and yeah, it was wonderful, and that's what you want to do is have multiple revenue streams within your business. The more of those you can have, the better, because then you think about it. If your website has a bad day or a bad week where Facebook ads have screwed people over, like it's done numerous times in the past, then at least you've got your wholesaler, at least you've got your other online store, at least you've got your monthly revenue coming in.
Mm.
So just try and
It's
think
about
about
riding
ways.
those peaks and troughs, as you said
Exactly.
earlier.
Try and build as many revenue streams into your business as you can, because it makes things so much easier,
It certainly
which we'll
does.
continue to do. And then it was maintaining things after that, wasn't it?
Hmm.
The growth wise, Nathan was running the day-to-day operations of the business. We were employing more and more people. Revenues were increasing. Reviews were coming in. Everything was looking great.
It was looking lovely, wasn't it?
It was, and that freed us up, and we were actually looking at buying other businesses.
Yeah,
We visited a couple. One was a home fragrance business. Another one was actually a packaging
yeah.
supplies company. Now, why would you do that? Why would you? You might be thinking that. Why would you buy a packaging supplies company? Well, think about it. We use packaging all day, every day.
Hmm.
We buy packaging from a packaging supplier. That packaging supplier buys their packaging in bulk from China
Mm.
and from manufacturers. So why not cut out that middleman, become a packaging supplier yourself, so you're keeping that revenue inside your business? It's extra margin, but it's also another revenue stream. We were looking into that as well as an
We
option.
were, and you could also sell to the Craft HQ customers because you're
Exactly.
already selling them the products to make, so you could also sell them things that they can post them in.
At the same time, we were looking at two other shops. One was in Bury St
Hmm.
Edmunds and one was in Saffron Walden. Now, the one in Saffron Walden, we had all of the paperwork. In fact, for both of them, we had
Both
all
of
of the
them.
paperwork completely ready to sign. And for the one in Bury St Edmunds, we actually had an interior designer
Yeah.
do everything for us and provide us visuals, walkthroughs, everything
Hmm.
for a full kit out
We
for
were
it.
very excited for that, weren't we?
So we were going to buy businesses. We were going to open two new shops. Then what happened then?
Then
Russia
Russia,
decided to invade Ukraine, and that put prices of everything through the roof.
by an average of 35%, every single one of our supplies went up.
That put prices through the roof. People started not spending money, and there was a noticeable dip. And oh my God, am I so glad that we didn't proceed with all of those things at
We
that point.
literally had the paperwork on your desk and
Yeah,
we were about to sign it.
yeah,
And then we're like, we'll just come in on Monday and we'll do it on Monday. We'll just think about it again over the weekend. And then we came in and it's just like, basically, the shit had hit the fan, and it was just,
yeah.
oh, a nightmare.
Yeah. So again, I think that's one of those lucky things, isn't it? Otherwise, that could have been dressed. Well, I say that it could have been dressed. It could have also been a fantastic opportunity. You'd never know now, would you? So
Well,
hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
that's true.
But we didn't do that. We carried on growing, and then we got to a point where we were, you know, if any of you guys have followed us on our Cozy Aromas journey, you may or may not know that we support a charity called the Miscarriage Association,
Yeah.
where we raise money for them and we work in partnership with them. We make products on their behalf. And the reason for that is pretty obvious. Now, Tamer and I have had struggles for how many years now?
12 years.
12 years. 12 years. So, of infertility issues and multiple rounds of IVF, all that kind of stuff. And we got to the point where we're like, right, you know, we're not getting any younger. What is the next solution? The next solution was adoption.
Yeah,
So we looked into that, didn't we?
we did.
We went to a meeting and we realized just how
All encompassing it
all
is.
encompassing and how much time it will take,
Yeah,
how much dedication we have to put into it, which of course you understand,
yeah.
with the child, that's fine. But the actual process of getting of going through the adoption process is just, it was full on. And unfortunately, as business owners, you get zero help.
None
from the
at all.
government. If you are employed, then you do get
Get
adoption
adoption
relief.
leave and you get paid for it and everything. Whereas, of course, because we ran our business, we wouldn't be entitled to anything at all, no support whatsoever.
Nothing whatsoever. So we're like, oh, well, how do we do this then? We're trying to think of different ways of doing things. And, having a child is the want of having a child far outweighs how long we've had this business for and how
Yeah.
much we wanted the business. It's something we've always wanted. All of our friends have children, and it's something we've never managed to tick off. And this seemed like the solution for us. And we then started to just toy with the idea of, well, we sort of got a valuation for our company, didn't we?
Yeah.
At that point, and we thought, okay, this could be an idea. So we ended up putting the business up for sale,
We did.
and it took a year.
Yeah.
So it was a very long process,
Yeah.
a lot of meetings, a lot of phone calls, all this kind of stuff. It wasn't a quick thing at all,
No way.
but it was up for sale for a year, wasn't it?
It was. It was a massive decision for us to make, wasn't it, really? Because we 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 sort of we knew we wanted to sell the business eventually, didn't we, at some point?
Yeah.
But actually getting to that point, it sort of
Yeah.
was a bit strange, wasn't it?
Our
But
plan was always to sell our business at some
yeah,
point. You always should have some kind of exit strategy,
yeah,
exit plan in your business. And one thing I learned from a entrepreneur that I follow a lot, James Sinclair, based in Essex, is he always says, build your business as if you're going to sell it, even if you have no intention of
yeah,
selling it. And basically, what that means is build a business whereby it can run entirely without you being there,
yep,
by having a wonderfully structured team and processes and systems in place. Because then that is so much more valuable and so much more attractive to potential buyers. So thankfully, it was obvious that because we'd done that,
yeah,
it was clear to potential buyers that we could just slot out of it and then the business would continue to
yeah.
run.
Because we'd set it up that way.
Exactly, which is what happened basically. Ultimately we didn't want to be making wax melts and candles and home fragrance for the rest of our life. I mean,
No,
that wasn't our plan. But we went through all these discussions. We had so many different people interested. It was wonderful, really.
there was a lot of meetings and a lot of
Yeah,
numbers and
it was nerve-wracking. It was stressful, but ultimately, it's so proud knowing that you've built something that
yeah,
people are willing to spend a lot of money to acquire
yeah.
from you.
It's almost surreal, isn't it?
It's,
Kind of like
it's
an out of body experience that somebody wants to
yeah.
buy your business.
But we found a guy, or I say a guy, it was the guy that we're chatting to, but they have, it's a
Yeah,
big company, multinational company, who are acquiring various different brands to fit with under their umbrella of companies that they have. And he had the same ambitions as us. He didn't
they
want
were
to
the right fit.
the right fit. They didn't want to close anything down. They
No.
weren't going to get rid of any of the team. Quite the opposite, in fact. Actually, they were acquiring other companies, and they ended up moving one of those into our
Hmm.
warehouse, didn't they?
Yeah,
But then completion
completion.
day, words out, came around, and that was probably the best day of our life, wasn't
It was. It was still a little bit stressful because it was a Tuesday. The paperwork all came through and we signed all of that, and then we left and went home, and we were waiting to see if we'd get any emails back or anything, and our internet went down at home. We've been here over 3 years. Our internet never went down before, but then our internet went down the same day that we're waiting for emails to come through.
it? Exactly, exactly, yeah. And then you know you have to bear in mind as well, as I'm sure you're aware if you're listening to this, is that running a business is so stressful,
Hmm.
and we're still a very, very small business, of course. But when you do have team members and you have mortgages from your team members, let alone your own,
Yeah,
mortgages from your team members, bills, everything which
they
rely
rely
on
on.
you.
Mm.
And this business isn't a 9 to 5 business because it's a community-based brand. You have to be on it 24/7.
Yeah,
Sales come in 24/7. You have to be on it all the time, and it's hard. And then there is no shut off because
no,
we live and work together.
yep,
So when we are away from work, we're still talking about work.
yep. It was our life.
That's
It was
all,
everything.
and it still is to a certain extent
Yeah,
with something different, of course. But that relief of then knowing that that was no longer our responsibility to look
Yeah.
after these sales. It was no longer our responsibility to do all this. It was like a weight off our shoulders.
It really was, especially with who we sold the business to. We found the right fit because we had multiple offers, and we found the people that were going to continue the business, that were going to nurture the people there as well and look after them, because our team was always at the forefront of everything we did, weren't they?
Exactly.
So we made sure that we found the right fit so that everybody had their job secure, that the whole business was going to keep going, all of our customers would be able to still get the products they love.
Exactly. And that, the completion day came round. We signed all the paperwork. The shares transferred over. We had money transfer into our bank account, which was a bloody surreal moment,
It
wasn't it?
really was.
That was crazy. And then we had the rest of our lives to look at. So obviously there's a handover phase, which we've completed now. We're still on support to help the team members as much as they need us to, and we always will. We love this business. We absolutely love Cozy Aromas and Craft HQ and Waxkind. We haven't even mentioned Waxkind, but that's for another one. And we love the team members, but then it's now to look at the rest of our life. So it's given us that time now to do the things that we've always wanted to do. So we've recently just built a pub in our back garden.
Yeah.
Something I've always wanted to do, isn't it?
It is. And we actually, because we were able to do it pretty much full time, we completely renovated the garden and everything in just 2 weeks.
That's it. We set up our other business. So now we have our marketing business where we're helping people, we coach people, we've got online courses, all of that kind of stuff to teach people how to build their own business. And we have a touring caravan, so we've been going away in that.
Yep.
And now, it's given us that time now to think about our next step with regards to children and things like that. So it's just that freedom now, isn't it? So, which is lovely. But
it is lovely.
That only lasts for a little while because, as I said right at the beginning of this podcast, I am very ambitious and I'm very entrepreneurial. So I'm always looking at ways in which we can build audiences and build interest in something and ultimately sell things.
And sometimes I do have to slow you down a little bit, don't I?
Yeah, and that's what we're doing, isn't it? So we're still working very, very hard.
Yeah.
But we're doing passion projects now, things that we love.
Yeah.
We've always wanted to do a podcast. And this is our first episode.
This is our first one.
Of us just rambling on about what we've done. But it's been fun. And I think we'll do this again. Let's see the reaction.
We'll have to see what everybody thinks.
If you've loved to listen to this, please do subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you're listening to on. We have our Instagram accounts. I'm not sure what the handle is yet because we
haven't made it yet.
We haven't made it yet, so I'll tell you that next time. But we're recording this as well as a video, so it'll be on YouTube, and we'll put segments onto Instagram as well. But
if there's anything that you want to know or want to sort of get to know about why we've done things or anything, just ask us and we'll see if we can run through it in the preview or in the next episode.
Absolutely right. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.